It's hitting the, I just wanted to make sure we get this recorded because I know people end up not being able to make the meeting and I don't want them to miss anything. So, okay. Bingo, we're all ready. So let me go ahead and get our agenda up on the screen here for everybody. Let me get our agenda up. There is our agenda. And I will share our screen for everybody. Wanted to just say welcome, and I'm so glad everyone could make it. We ended up getting a lot of wonderful party people here tonight. I really didn't think we'd have this great of a showing with as chaotic as everything's been this week, but I am so glad that you are here. So welcome, thank you. I'm so glad you made it tonight. As nuts as things have been, thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your evening and coming tonight. This is the ACE committee. This is the Autism Committee of the ESE Advisory Council. My name is Jen Ellis. I am your lovely co-chair along with Jen Gray. And we are meeting tonight to talk about a few things. First and foremost, there was an emergency meeting of the board today, and the school board unanimously approved to reopen starting on the 9th as opposed to the 14th so that all of the funding wasn't jeopardized. So I don't know how many of you caught that today. So that was wonderfully interesting for everybody. So as long as we have Gary on here, Gary, did you want to go ahead and talk about that, or would you like me to go on about that, or what would you like to do? You may have a little more insight than I do.
I probably don't have a lot more insight than you do, because I also watched some of the board meeting, but not all of it. So hopefully you may be able to fill in the blanks.
Okay, I'll fill in whatever you don't have.
Let me just, give you a little district news update and start with the focus sort of off the e-learning for now and opening school and all that craziness, and really talk about supporting our students and what's been going on in the district, as far as ASD in general. I do want to tell you all our student population in ASD, although it usually I come to you this time of the year and I say we've grown by 600 or 700 students. We haven't grown by 600 or 700 students this year, but we have grown. It's just been slower than in the past, and we do attribute a lot of that to our pre-K students who've been evaluated and just haven't entered yet for whatever reason, and probably due to the remote, the e-learning. We are, as far as our special programs or our ASD clusters, we're about the same amount of, the exact same schools that had clusters last year have clusters this year. I believe at last count, we were up maybe 1 or 2 cluster classes throughout the district from last year. If you remember going back from 2018 to 19, I think we were up 11 classes. So we have that growth is sort of reflected in our clusters also. We continue, the district ESE staff continue to support teachers in remote learning with whether they're assisting them through training, support networks, or actually being live, working with them in their classes, observing some students for whether it's behavior, FBAs, getting data to help students progress, also to help with teachers prepare for IEP meetings. Same stuff we would be doing as if we were going into schools. So we're sort of spying. We're not spying, but we're from the outside. We're able to do it from the comforts of our office or our home. Most of the administrators are back to some point, at accessing schools and at ASH. Principals are at all our schools right now. District ESL staff, administrators have been in and out of the building back and forth. Program staff also primarily have been working from home, but we're out there delivering AT devices, fixing equipment, picking up, it's normal operations between schools that way. So there's not that at first, back in May and June, we were like, stay away from schools, don't spread anything anywhere. So we are so that those business operations are normal. We are, of course, using our PPE, social distancing when we go in and have meetings at schools. It's primarily with staff right now. Social distance, physical distance, and PPE is all. We're all following those guidelines, and I think they're going to be, now with our students returning to campus, it's going to be even stricter for everybody, for staff, parents, students. So that's sort of the update on everything that has been going on. I don't know if you're aware, one of our curriculum supervisors did retire earlier this month, Janice Koblik, who is our SLD supervisor. She did retire, so we're sort of covering the SLD part of it to the supervisors and the schools that she would supervise. I understand that at the board meeting, the next board meeting, there will be somebody approved to take over that SLD supervisor position. I will be very happy, and some of my colleagues who've been covering for schools and learning how to do SLD strategies. So we're sort of happy about that, to have somebody coming on to pick up that work again. Other than that, the board meeting today, from what I understand, it did go from the 14th. Our students with autism that are in self-contained classes, our clusters, our SVE, our transition classes, and our pre-K classes, those students will be the first to come back. I believe that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, October 9th, I think, will be the first day that they're going to be back on campus.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Okay, so I know there are a lot of dates thrown around, but October 9th would be their first day back on campus. It's totally optional for families. I know families had filled out a survey, a lot of angst with families. I totally understand that. I don't have young children, but if I did, I'd be sharing in your angst, and certainly with a young child with a disability makes it even another layer. You've probably heard, we have a lot of teachers that are nervous, understandably. Some of our guys out there may not wear the PPE. I'm talking, students, and either because of their disability or their age. It's not unique to autism. It's unique to kids, especially preschool students. I don't know how you get any 3-year-old to keep a mask on for an entire day, but boy, we're going to try to help teachers through that. Realizing that that's not always going to be in place. It can't, there's too many variables there. Number one being some of our students in pre-K need help with diapering, changing. Some students need some hand over hand. Recognizing that, we are providing additional PPE to all of our pre-K teachers and our special programs or cluster teachers, students that are in self-contained. So the staff will actually have scrubs that they'll wear when changing students, when they're engaging at close contact. Some of them may wear the scrubs all day to school. So it's going to look different for some of our kids. Imagine you're going to school and now you're seeing your teacher in full scrubs, like when you're going to the pediatrician. So it's going to be weird for us too, seeing our colleagues scrubbed up. But I just, start preparing your student. It's going to be an individual school decision, teacher decision, depending on the makeup of the students in the classroom and the needs of the students. Not that every teacher is going to be there in full scrubs, but just, you may want to, ask that question. Probably not tomorrow, but as we go into next week, it's certainly a fair question to ask, because I think being a parent of a student with autism, we're going to need to get them used to that, because their teacher may not look the same that they taught. Certainly, they're going to have a mask on at the minimum. So that's another thing. It's not just about the students wearing a mask or our kids wearing a mask. Now they're going to be looking at their teacher, who they've always seen one way, looking another way. I'll go back to a student that I had when I first started wearing glasses. As I got a little older, the first day I was in classes, the student just couldn't get his head around the fact that Mr. Griggle didn't look the same. So I can't imagine what the mask is going to do. I think Natalia's presentation may cover a little bit of that, and Alicia probably has some of that information in her presentation tonight about some tricks, some skills, some strategies that you may be able to do to get your children ready to return. The deadline has moved up So we have fewer days. I think if you tuned in earlier in the board meeting, the date was even quicker. So I think it's given us a little bit of time, but not as much. We're never going to have as much time as we'd like, but it's given us a few extra days to get ready, get our teachers ready, get our students ready, for you guys to get ready if you are sending your child back to school. And again, it is totally optional. If you go to school, if your child goes to day 1 or day 2 and has meltdown and just can't handle, the environment, they certainly have that option to, with, being a student with autism, we certainly support that option for you to bring them back to e-learning at home if that's what you want to do. I know that you may be hearing, if a student chooses e-learning at home, it's not going to be as easy because they're planning for teachers to return to school. But if they start at school and they don't, I don't think anybody's going to tell you, no, now you have to stay in school till January because you chose it. So I don't want you guys to be too, get too upset or too worked up about that. It is fluid. Your kids do have IEPs and we'll work with you on that. And I'm sure your principals will, and district staff will certainly work on you. So I want to ease that too, that, it's all or nothing. It is, I get that for high school students or, in gen ed, that you're going to high school, you choose this, you can't go back and forth because it's a nice beach day. It's a little different for our kids. So just want to let you all know that too. At that, Jen, you want to fill in any of the blanks?
Honestly, it was an incredibly nerve-wracking meeting to watch the whole time. It was, to be very frank, a ton of political posturing was all that whole thing was all about. I was actually really proud of our board. I thought our board did an incredible job, really, with the whole thing. And our district really is doing amazing considering what's being asked of them. It's really, I really don't have words to express for the whole thing. It's kind of what's being asked of our district is superhuman. It's what's being asked out of you guys. And my hat's off to you, even though I'm not wearing a hat. You have my utmost respect. And I love you guys. I really do. And this is just going to be an incredibly stressful time for you guys. And I'm sorry. And that's really all I can say because you know how much I care about you guys. And you will definitely be in my thoughts over the next couple weeks. So I just wanted to get that out there and let you know I'll be thinking about you over the next couple weeks. So that I didn't really have anything extra to add. I will make sure to post plenty of information because I could throw out a whole bunch of facts and figures at you guys, but it'd be a lot easier just post the information for you so you don't have to worry about writing everything down. I will post everything on our website with all the dates for you. I will put everything on there. Let me see, when it comes, Melissa's writing, when does the district anticipate to teach without e-learning in the class? I haven't seen anything in regards to specific dates as far as, their phase 3, because I'll be frank, I really don't want to send my kid back until we hit phase 3. That's just me personally. I don't really see the point. That's just me. Everyone's got their own opinions on that. But we haven't gotten any specific dates on that. And a lot of that depends on environmental factors, what's going on, COVID numbers, a whole bunch of stuff. So we don't have any specific dates on that. Has anyone else heard differently?
I have not heard anything differently. That's, I think first it's getting through this initial opening. I know obviously as quickly as possible, we want to return society back to normal. So I think when society is looking more normal, that's when we'll probably go back to education as we knew it.
All right, sounds pretty right to me too. Let's go ahead and take a peek at where we're at agenda-wise. Okay, we already had Gary. Since I just saw Jackie pop in. Jackie, did you want to pop in and say hi real quick before we hop on to our next agenda item, since I see you lurking in there?
I am lurking, thank you. Yes, fresh from another meeting, and I'm off to another one in a second. So
I figured we'd let you hop in real quick so you can hop off to your next.
yeah. Hi everyone, and good job, Jen's, getting your meetings together, and thanks everyone at the district for hanging out here as well, and for all the work that you're doing. I missed the start of yours, Jen. I was at another meeting, so I don't know what you've already covered. So I'm not going to double up on an update from today, but just to say that. I'm glad there is resolution without the district losing any money, but I think the fact that the district was threatened with the withdrawal of funding is very alarming, and I'm glad that that there was dialogue today that led to a compromise deal that gets kids back on campus without losing money and without it also being as rushed as it would have been. And when I say rushed, I mean bringing forward the date that the district had committed to opening schools on. That said, there have been many months in which to prepare. And I trust that as much as we wanted the state to keep their word, you know, we trust Broward schools will keep their word, and that there can be a kind of smooth and smoothish or as best resource reopening as possible. So I wish everybody luck with that. Just in terms, I think one of our biggest obstacles still at the moment is information and communication. I know the school board's been a lot more mindful of the communication issue and was kind of trying to get more information out strategically to parents. But there's still a lot of holes. Gary, I know you'll be aware of this, but there are just so many questions that we have asked that either can't or haven't been answered yet. People want to know what e-learning looks like for those kids for whom e-learning doesn't work, who were identified as being priority students to get back because e-learning doesn't meet their needs. So people are still unsure, well, if I'm sending my kid with complex needs back, you know, to e-learning, what's the point of that? And we're not clear if they are sending them back to e-learning or what it looks like. So I think that's one of the questions that hopefully will be hammered out with more info for people. Lots of other questions, and I'm trying to find a mechanism for having them answered. And anybody who's on here who's not already a member of our Facebook page, please join it, because we just share, all of us, as much information as we possibly can. And I think information just helps. Even if we give you information that we've got no information, at least you kind of know whether we're standing still or where we're at. So do join us in there, and we'll always try to help and support you. And I know it's a really difficult time for everybody. So thank you. And to the district folks, thanks for the hard work you're doing too.
Okay, totally apologize. I've got the kids trying to grab me for 5 other things while I'm trying to run a meeting at the same time, which I'm sure you can all understand very well. Okay, so let me take a peek here. Looks like next we have Gail. Are you on yet?
Wait a minute. Yes, I am. Sorry.
Awesome. Well, we would love to have you next if you're available.
We are here. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Well, I'm glad you were available. Let me put you on as co-host just in case you need it. If you don't, that's fine too, but there you are. And you have the floor, Gail.
Thank you so much. My name is Gail Moore, and I am the new outreach coordinator with 211. Can you see me? Hold on. Is that better?
That's better.
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So I am actually here with the wonderful and the amazing and talented Billie Morgan, who will be go ahead and introducing some of what we do here at 211 and all of the wonderful things that we carry out. And I'm really excited to get in and just to get to know everybody here with ACE and get started. So here's Billie.
Hi, everybody. Oh, man, I see some amazing familiar faces and some that are like beautiful photos, but, you know, I know you're there. Hi, I think some of you might know me. I'm Billie, and I've been out in the community for quite a while telling people about 211. We were asked here today to just remind families that, you know, even during these, I know we still say uncertain times, and especially with some anxiety that some parents are having, and some, you know, some things that resources they might need, that we are there. We're handling those calls and helping support families through this challenging time, and advocating and having somebody fighting in your corner is just like everybody in this group. And I know we are amazing people here, always fighting in each other's corners, is that you have another pair of boxing gloves for 211 so that we can support families and make calls to agencies for your support and advocacy. So do I have an opportunity to screen share? I'll just do, I think we just have a short, brief period of time, but I will.
I already went ahead and made you co-host, so
Really?
you're good.
All right. So let me go ahead and share. Hopefully I'm sharing the screen. Who knows what screen I'm sharing? Sharing.
Well, just make sure it's something fun. You know, we're all good with whatever you're Hey, we're family here.
Are we seeing my PowerPoint, or are we seeing?
Yes, yes, we got your PowerPoint.
Okay, so that's great. So it's just a few slides. I just wanted, you know, some of us are visual learners. So, and many of you know 211. If you don't know about 211, I'm sure we've shared it in this meeting. And, you know, I have some great, some of my great promoters in the community are with us today in this room, this digital Zoom room. And some of the things that you might not know, or you might need to know about 211, is that we're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anybody can call us. I know I'm focusing on families, but we serve veterans, we serve seniors in our community, we serve anybody who needs resources. And right now, a lot of the calls that we're getting are for people needing help with basic needs. If you don't know, that moratorium on help with your rent has expired. And so, well, when those payments are due, and Gail can expound on that too, being on that front lines and being able to help families. And yes, and so right now we're handling a lot of families. All of us, you know, we already have, you know, a lot on our plate. And then if we're struggling with financial needs, we just need to know and tell our friends and loved ones that this is a resource they can call to find out where they can get resources and help. So 211 is everywhere. And if you were to dial 211 in Hawaii, you'd get 211 Aloha, believe it or not. I want to work there. But but that being said, it's a way to access health and human services resources. And I just want to help you spread the word about that. And the last thing I'll do today is tell you about what are the next steps and how do I navigate getting to somebody to help me in my situation. So we are confidential, we're free, anonymous. One of the most important calls that we get, and we're seeing a slight uptick in this, is for crisis-related calls. And not just for individuals, but youth are calling us with their own stresses of dealing with the changes that are happening with the pandemic and, you know, or domestic violence situations that we're hearing as well at 211. We're here to be able to help and support those who need those resources, advocate if they need it, and get interventions. So assessment is really important about what we do. And it's a helpline. So if you don't know, it's a number you call when you don't know the number to call. And the last thing too I want to show you is that once we're done with the slide is what we do with live chat. We have a live chat function at 211's website. We also have a way that you can text us as well. Some of the calls we get are just somebody needing to talk, supported listening. We're here for that. Just somebody who needs to get something off their chest. If you're stressed and it's, you know, 8 o'clock at night and you need somebody to talk to, we're here and we're non-judgmental and we're just here to be able to support and be a listening ear. But I think the really important thing then where it really matters for us is that follow-up and advocacy that we do for our community. So not only do we provide the resources, we follow up with that parent or that individual who needs those resources. And then we make sure that they did get connected to all those necessary resources. And if they didn't, they say, you know what, XYZ agency didn't call me back. Or that behavioral support therapist that, you know, that you gave me an email list for, I haven't heard from 2 of them. Our counselors, which are funded by Children's Services Council, will, with your permission, make calls on your behalf and say, hey, Joan hasn't heard back from you. would you be able to get a call? Or maybe we can make a call together. Maybe it's an issue with navigating the menu. Maybe it's a language concern. So it could be anything, and we're here to support that, so that we can make sure the most important thing is that children with special needs and our students get the support that they need and get access to the care that they need. And that's why we're here. So that advocacy is also really important. So the last part of this bubble is care coordination. And if you have a moment to write down 2 of our care coordinators, and I know we're growing in that capacity, but if you were to call and you were speaking, you might have already spoken to Megan or Bree. These are our 2 cheerleaders for the program. They're the ones that spearhead and help those families, and we're growing, so we're going to have even more. But if you're looking for a name when you're reaching out for support, somebody who really understands med waiver, somebody who understands IEP issues, somebody who understands transportation problems that sometimes we face, or you know, with adjusting back to maybe middle school, from elementary to middle school, and those struggles, they really understand and are able to help a parent navigate that and maybe make a call or support in whatever way you need. Remember, Megan and Bree are there. If you just dial 211 here in Broward, you'll be able to get support for that. And they'll call you back if you end up leaving a message with somebody. They'll be in a rotation to call you back, and you know, as soon as they're available, and get the ball rolling for you. So the only other thing is, this is the way it used to be. People would call an agency, and I've been at 211, friends, 15 years at 211. I started when I was 12. I haven't aged a day. The only difference is that I have glasses now, Gary. So, but that being said, I've been with 211, and so we use this to be able to demonstrate how it used to be. And we're the suicide crisis line for the community as well. So if you know somebody who is struggling to that level, we are here to be able to support that person, help them find resources and hope. And this is the way it is now, is that they call us, the person might need support or resources, then we can link them to the agency or provide the intervention as needed. I mentioned some of our funders here, just a quick glance at, we are a nonprofit. Some people think that we are a federal program. We actually are a nonprofit, a 501c3. So this is some of the agencies that keep our doors open. And you already know this is the most important call that we get is for crisis intervention. And so I'll leave you here. Although our counselors are far better looking than these stock photo individuals, we are highly trained, multilingual, empathic, empowering, and we advocate. And I really think it's important for families to know. And if you could help me spread the word about this long-standing program that, you know, does need, to be shouted from the rooftops, that this is here to be able to support families, and we continue to get calls. And you know what's great is that we get calls from families that they called us when they were entering into elementary school, and a parent wasn't sure what the next steps were, or had an issue with their IFSP or whatever it might be, and then now they're in transition age, and they're actually needing help with their TIEP. And so, you know, our counselors are able to help them navigate that and give them some resources or some free tools, and link them to perhaps some free trainings out there in our community. And you know, SNAC is doing a great job being able to put together and organize some of these broader issues so that we can make sure that it gets into the hands of the parents. So the last thing, this is the Special Needs Connections line. And so that's what I'm talking about when it's coming to what matters for us, is that it offers support, answers hope, and empowers caregivers for use of special needs. So spread the word about that. It's a simple 3-digit number, and there's the 10-digit number too. So it's 954-537-0211. Now, bonus time is that I wanted to show you 211-broward.org, and there is an option up here that says chat with us. So if you go to 211's website or our special needs website, 211specialneeds.org, but 211-broward.org, where you can get everything, you could click chat with us, and you can find popular topics. A lot of families are needing resources about COVID-19, financial help, or where to get testing, or other resources. That's all current, like within hours of us getting the information, we put it into the system. So you get something printed and it's out of date as soon as it goes off the printing press. This is always accurate and always updated, and 4,000 programs are in this database that are managed by a whole team in our data department. and their local resources. The basic needs, and you could click on here. So if I wanted to chat, I could chat with anybody. So say you're a parent and you're busy, you might not have time to make a phone call. There's other ways to get to us. And you could actually chat. If you're in crisis, we prioritize those calls. And if I wanted to chat right now, hopefully you're seeing that, say I want to put my name in here. All right. I'm not going to put my age. It's optional, all of that. So we'll say there's children in the household. If we're looking for a resource, what I'm going to do is link right up now. It's going to take me right to.
I think your screen froze.
Yeah.
Oh, are you able to see the?
No, I still see your PowerPoint.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Anything now?
Nope.
Probably see an email here. Ah,
No.
nope.
Just the PowerPoint.
Is it the PowerPoint moved along? Did it not?
Yes, it did, but then it stopped and it's back to the front page.
So if you would then, I don't know if you could see, doesn't look like it. So.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, you could try it. You could try the chat button. If you go to 211-broward.org, you'll see the information and resources there. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Gail's going to see if she can take over and show us that demonstration. So these are, we're trying to be on the cutting edge of technology. We're trying to be able to make sure families can access us in different modes rather than just picking up the phone. Sometimes we don't have time to do so. So Gail, you're up if you wanted to give it a go.
Hold on a second. I'm having a little slowness here. Hold on.
Yeah, and the fact is that even if we didn't get a chance to demonstrate that, that it's there. And the most important thing is that, we're actually, you wanted to text tonight somebody, you'd be able to message us or send us an email if it's after hours, and just tell us what you'll need is your name, the child's age, child's name. So when we call back, people will think we might be telemarketers if we're calling back from 211. So if we're calling in regards to Joseph, that definitely helps you understand that we're actually here to be able to provide you resources and support. So I only just had a few minutes, and so if Gail gets it up and running, she can show us. But
I got it. I can go ahead and share my screen.
Well, let's
Hold on
see.
one second. Right. So let us go back to where I was. All right. Okay, here we are. And does everyone see my front page of 211?
In a moment. There it comes. Yep.
Okay,
great. 211-broward.org. And if you go to chat with us button, chat with us button, and there's find services too, but I just want to point that out too. So there you go. So if we wanted to chat right now, obviously the crisis one is prioritized, but click the chat. Pretty cool. And then and Gail's going to enter in some information. And then if you can also text TXT 211, and that way, if you needed to text us, you can also reach us that way. So we're trying to cast a wide net for the community to know that they can tap into us and stay on the cutting edge of technology as well, because more and more we're relying on our phones, not for communication and our voice, but for other ways. And also youth with autism and other people with other disabilities, maybe with vocal disabilities, this is great for them to access that as well. And a lot of people are more comfortable just chatting. So so you could start the chat, be able to link up.
I may have not put in my age intentionally.
And it's got all that's completely optional. It's just able to help us find better resources for you. Yeah. So that's what it would look like, is that you get that window that pops up. And on your phone, actually brand new. Now, I don't want to say too much, but we are working in getting an app. And we will have a special needs function in there for families to be able to access the resources through our app. So we're coming along with technology, and we just want to make sure that there are various places that you can tap into, all of the nonprofits for social related needs, for behavioral health, for IEP issues, for advocates in your community. This is the number to call. And so please help share with everybody. Yes, the app, I'm excited too. So And if you have any questions for me, I am somewhat of a walking database. If those of you who know me in the community for a while. Right now I've really been focused a lot on COVID-19 related resources and things like that. But any questions for me? Or any way that we could help you?
I think people were just mostly, this is actually perfect because I think a lot of people sometimes are not comfortable actually, you know, when you're going through the middle of a crisis, being able to do things via text is really nice, especially for special needs parents who have kids screaming in the background. this is actually beautiful. Love this. So bravo, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for this opportunity. So if those of you who hadn't heard about the magical 3-digit number, now you know a little more. For those of you who already knew, I'm sending my love to all of my beautiful faces out there. And I just want to say, keep fighting the good fight, keep doing great work out there, and know that somebody's on your side and somebody's fighting in your corner, whether you see them or not, we're here.
No, and we love everything that you guys do. You guys really do some amazing things on so many different levels. You know, you take great care of us, you take great care of the community. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's certainly a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, take good care, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with school, everyone.
Thank you. All righty, let's take a quick peek at our agenda here. And I think we're just moving on our merry way. If we want to go ahead and hop on, I'll just double check here, but I think we're good. Let's go to our next lovely ladies. Let's go with Natalia and Alicia. Would you like to hop on and say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. Great to see so many familiar names out there. It's fun to see you.
Yes, and it's fun to be welcomed back again in this ACE meeting. So we're excited. I think, let me see if I can share my screen if it wants to cooperate. We all know technology, like always, has their own mind. Let's see, can everyone see my screen?
And for those of you that don't know us, because maybe we're new to some of you, I'm Alicia Palelis, and I'm a behavior program specialist with the ESLS department. And so my special area is with behavior, specifically with kids with autism. They're my favorite. So, and my partner in crime, Natalia.
Hi, everyone. You're right. I should have started with that, but I know everybody's time is so crazy and it's been such a wild, crazy day. My name is Natalia Moron. I actually work with Gary Griegel. Sorry, guys, give me a.
She has a little one too. So she works on Gary Griegel, and she is a curriculum program specialist. So where I'm behavior, she's curriculum. So we complement each other nicely.
Thank you. Yes, as always, she's 5. So, you know, putting boundaries on 5 years old or any younger children just doesn't quite work the way we want it to. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of say, you know, I come from that world. I know Alicia and I have known each other for a couple years now. And she finally dragged me to this side to be joining the district and hopefully providing some good resources for not only our teachers, but our, you know, helping our students and also as you guys helping parents with students with disabilities. So I have been in the ESC world now for 13 years and that's all I've ever known. And I've worked with mostly students with autism as well.
And this is my 20th year. I'm getting old. And before working in the district level, I was an autism coach for 15 years. And then prior to that, I taught the intensive pre-K class. So that's us.
So let me go ahead and try again, because again, our computer is acting a little fun. I will go with what Jen said, you know, school district computer. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me try.
Yes, ma'am.
Our presentation mode. Let me see if it lets me. Can everyone see the presentation? Perfect. Just want to make sure.
We see it with the side with the notes.
Okay, let me make sure it's in our. Ooh. I don't even know what it just did. Let's try this again. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
All right, so tonight we are going to be talking, we decided to work together as we usually do and combining our brains together. So we're going to be doing incorporating accommodations while understanding behavior. And just like Gary said, we did put a little bit extra at the end of our presentation, just because we thought it would be great given our circumstances and what we're currently living under. So we're hoping we can help you guys as parents and families on how to help with the mask. There we go. So for some of you guys, you might have seen me before in the presentation for ACE in August. So I did just want to give you guys a quick reminder about some tips for a successful home learning environment. And some of the things that I went over was how to designate a learning space, how to develop a routine, how to set those expectations, to use your resources. So I'm glad 211 came on because I think it was a perfect reminder to use resources, to celebrate, and most of all, and I think more than ever, to just be flexible. So if you do want to see all the description and everything it kind of went over, I think Jen recorded and she might have posted it on her site. So maybe you can go back and kind of explore that particular webinar that we had. But for today, we are going to be talking about accommodations. So I think one of the things that I have learned throughout my career is that FAIR really isn't for everybody getting the same thing. FAIR is truly what everybody really needs in order to be successful. And I think that we have to start understanding, I know there's a lot of confusion between what an accommodation may be and what a modification is. So let's go ahead and dive into the definition a little bit. So an accommodation changes how the student learns that material, while a modification is going to change what a student is taught or is expected to learn. And I think, and I just advocate for this over and over again, I know that I do see some familiar faces in our participants. So if they've known me as a teacher, I will advocate for what the child needs based on their particular child, what their specific needs are, and what my data has guided me. So we always have to remember that I in the IEP, because it should be completely individualized to that particular child. So just thinking of accommodations in general, if we look at the picture all the way to the right, it says accessible design means that the current and future viewers will have access without any extra work. That means basically we get what we get, right? No extra work, no accommodations whatsoever. If we look all the way to the left, you're gonna see that inaccessible design excludes people because they're trying to make us do the one shoe fits all. And that doesn't always work that way, right? So our goal is always to have the middle picture, which is that accommodations will give access to whoever is there at the moment. But they do require an extra step, right? Because for example, if you notice, the tall man gets the left to see the soccer game without a problem, but our middle person needs at least one stool, right? That one stepping stone. And then our child in the all the way to the end, he needed two, right? To be able to see that whole thing. So we did have to do a little bit of extra steps, but that's what made it accessible and accommodated for every single individual person. So as we keep looking at real life scenarios, hold on guys, give me a second. Again, my 5-year-old visiting. As we keep looking at real life scenarios, I wanted to kind of bring that life concept of what do we normally see in accommodations? You know, if we are having trouble with hearing, we may have an interpreter. If we are having trouble with our vision, we may need a guide dog, or you may just have a service dog for emotional support. If you're at work and you are working in cubicles, you may have to actually stretch. If you're having back problems, hip problems, leg problems, you may need to have those freaking breaks in between, right? Or maybe we can look at the desk where this lady is standing. She does have a standing desk because she may need that. So that's an accommodation that could be done at work while your other coworker may be sitting on a desk. If you happen to have an accident, and even if it's temporary or permanent, and you need to use a wheelchair, you're gonna need a ramp. So there's a lot of places that accommodate that. Then we have that teacher right in the next. So if you've ever been to any, even in college, in order to support audio, we have had teachers use microphones to augment that audio. If you have a sprain in your ankle, which I used to have a lot when I was younger, I needed crutches. That was my accommodations. I needed crutches to be able to maneuver and walk throughout all the campus. Right now, I don't use glasses permanently, but these are my blue light glasses because before we started e-learning and just virtual world, I was fine. And after coming into this world and spending so many hours on my computer, I'm getting massive headaches. So this has been my accommodation to prevent those headaches, right? And a lot of you guys may also know closed captioning, which we use in some of the live meetings we may have. I know Teams accommodated that, where they will get the script on the bottom of any live presentation being done. Or if you're watching a movie, you do have closed captionings in different languages to accommodate your language that you may be more proficient in. So we have these all around across our life, right? So when it comes to education, I found this quote by Nicole, and I thought it was pretty accurate how we wanted to start turning into this accommodations world. We make accommodations for one another in everyday life. And if a person sprains an ankle, crutches are provided to help that person walk. And if a room is dark, we use a flashlight to shed that light. But in the classroom or in learning in general, we give student learning accommodations so they can be successful. So there's, oh, go ahead.
That I think it's important for us not to think, as parents, not to think of these accommodations as crutches or extra things or whatever. Just like, if a child was vision impaired, they would wear glasses. Same thing for our kids. They need these special learning accommodations, and they can be carried all through life. And to help our children recognize that they need them and that they're useful and that they're beneficial. Because sometimes our kids don't want to use these things because they don't want to be different. So I use a great example of the pop socket on my phone. This was created for people that had physical handicaps so that they could hold the phone better. But now we all benefit, so helping our kids to understand these different accommodations also, takes away some of that feeling to it.
And that's a great example. I mean, even if when we think about our shoes, right? I don't know how many of you guys know the Velcro shoes. Yep, we use those, right? I mean, even if you have an atypical child, you may use it for time, if you're in a rush every day. So we have these accommodations all throughout. And Alicia did bring a good point. I think when I think of accommodations, I know as a teacher, I said I advocated for my students. I based it on my data. I always really analyze, does the child truly need this accommodation? Because I come from the social work world, and that's really where my degree was based on. So my life has always been taught in my career, my college career taught me that we are teaching for that independence, because they grow up and, they're going to have to deal with life. So I always made sure that I really assess those accommodations. Do they need them? Can I push and challenge? It's not that you are not giving what they need. Is can we challenge them to the next level? That's how I used to have that mindset. I want to challenge my students. I know they can do it. I'm going to get them there. So always having that in the back of your mind. Always reanalyze those accommodations. Don't just do it out of routine, but really start looking at these categories that the Department of Education has for us. And what do the child really need, or older student, if we have different age levels in here, what do they really need to be successful, and do they still need it, right? So we're going to keep assessing ourselves. So there are 4 categories that DOE has, and that's the Department of Education for Florida. In the accommodations manuals, I think they really labeled it in 4 different categories, which is presentation, and that's how students receive the information. Responding, which is how students show what they know. Setting, how the environment is made accessible for instruction and assessment. And scheduling, how time demands and schedules may be adjusted. So let's look a little bit into these different categories. So just thinking across the board, presentation is really what are the instructional and test materials presented in a different manner than print, right? So some of the things might be, depending, and again, this is not all applicable to you guys, but it may be a magnifier, auditory, amplification, text to speech. If a student is more auditory, maybe having audio recordings instead of actually reading certain things, if test allowed. We all know the testing guides. Maybe share notes or share files, especially with this, e-learning. I think that has been something that we now have more access to, is sharing our presentations as educators and, requesting that side, getting notes or outlines given prior to the lessons. And one thing that Alicia really brought to my attention today is even color paper or color filters. And Alicia, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, since you kind of brought that idea in.
Well, for some of our kids with autism, they have visual processing difficulties. And so sometimes just printing out a worksheet or whatnot on a different color paper helps them to read it better or see it better. Or even just like a color plastic thing that they could lay on top of the book or what have you. Sometimes color really helps our kids to see and be able to process much better.
And that's that same concept of color, I would think even with my highlighters. I used to do that a lot with my students. When I wanted certain things to stand out, I would use different color highlighted. So again, it's based on presentation. And one thing that I really learned with my students, and again, I come from the special program, autism cluster world, is that we want to minimize distractions. So how I set up my presentation when I'm getting lessons done was a big deal. How many items do I present at a time? If I have 30 assignments in front of my student, that may just throw them in a whole different world of behavior, right? So again, presenting one item at a time. If a story was really long, maybe I would mask it. So I would use like a blank paper, and make sure that they would only read a paragraph at a time. And depending on their level, it might just be a sentence at a time. And as crazy as it sounds, I even used to do one word at a time. So again, you have to really understand how that in that IEP, that child specifically, what their needs are when it comes to presentation. Then scheduling comes in. And I think this is one of the main ones that we mostly use, because it is gonna, when Alicia and I were presenting and preparing for this meeting, I really said, accommodations and behavior are so hand in hand, because if you give the right accommodations, it could be the prevention of, a behavior to come. So again, trying to understand that. So when it comes to scheduling, I thought about, extra time. Some students do need that extra time of processing, whether it's for writing or to use their assistive technology, or just to process the information that they're listening to or reading. They may need that extra time. Other students might need frequent breaks, so it could assist them, when they're having difficulty concentrating, or if they're getting frustrated or overwhelmed. Again, so if they did not get that presentation accommodation, giving that break to just break things down might really make the world of a difference. The time of day, again, using data to analyze, is the student, needing more breaks? If the assignment is too long, is that what is, causing the child to have more difficulty? Which kind of ties into the schedule changes, because some students do work better at different times of the day. And identifying when is it that that child concentrates better. It could be that there's some medications in the background, that the child may be taking for different needs, and it may impact his attention earlier in the day. Or, maybe throughout the day, the mood might change. So again, analyzing that energy level. Responding accommodations, I know we use that a lot for testing, but I also used it in my classroom all the time. And response accommodations are going to benefit those students who have difficulty with memory, sequencing, directionality, alignment, and even organization. So it is an accommodation that many students with a physical disability will struggle. So again, trying to see what format a child might respond. There are students who may be verbal, some of them may be receptive, some of them might need to be minimizing the amount of responses they have. So if you had a 3, multiple choice, or maybe 4, you might do 50% of it, using assistive technology to respond, communication devices it may need, using different, activities, pencil grids, even things that might be based on fine motor, that might be also impacting. A word processor, right? Depending on their level and needs, they may need a computer, but again, without the use of help, right? So we don't want to give them the spell check if they're doing that. And for more severe cases and complex students, depending where they're at and what disabilities they may have, they may even have an eye gaze to respond, right? So again, there's different modalities that we have all across. And setting, which again, if you were in my meeting last time, this really will go a lot with what we talked about in that August meeting. Location of where students are going to complete those assignments, assessment, lessons, and homework. Even though you guys are at home at this moment and we may be transitioning, it was the same thing in the classroom. Some students, and I'm just gonna put an example when I was in my class. I remember I love decorating. I love making things cute. I can't help it. I am truly a teacher at heart, like a young primary teacher at heart. And my room used to be very colorful. But at one time I put these little color birds on my wall, and I had a student who would literally just stare at it. He could not concentrate no matter from what angle of the classroom he was in. So I had to accommodate and make sure that when I was teaching him, either, he had no access, no view to it, same thing with computers. And at one point I just decided, what, it's best to completely remove it. So again, making sure that the location is appropriate, minimal distractions, right? So if you're working from home at this time, you definitely want to consider what is the location your child is learning, and you might want to accommodate that. You may want to put them facing a wall or a science board to minimize that distraction, or in a low traffic area. And I've had to do that for my daughter. She's 5 and she really will pay attention to a fly on the wall and completely lose concentration on what she's working on. So we are going to go ahead and find the location that doesn't have that much traffic. So make sure it's not maybe in the dining table, if you could accommodate that, where is nearby the kitchen, so everybody's going to be passing back and forth. Using checklists all the time, absolutely, and schedules. That's also a setting accommodation. And most importantly too, is having the necessary items, books, technology, materials accessible and within your reach. That's going to be part of your setting. Again, how you accommodate everything where the student is currently working at. That's going to be all part of settings as well. So as I was researching for this presentation, I did come across this, which I thought was really useful. We have accommodations that we know is just for learning, but there's also a lot of sensory that it goes along with our students with autism spectrum disorder. So I wanted to show you guys some tips that I found online from, and I did put on the side, The Art of Education, and it's accommodations for too much visual stimulation. So again, just keeping that in mind, you know, maybe dimming the lights, again, setting up that folder or science board to provide almost like a study carrel, task lighting to reduce the visual impact. I know in some of the classes, I forgot the actual name, the white lights that we always have, we used to put those filters on, right, to help that as well. Accommodations for too much auditory. So maybe having not just regular headphones or pods, but actually noise canceling headphones. Some students, I did have a student who used to work with music and he needed that. He needed to have classical music to actually work. So he had an iPod. I know back in those days, the iPod. And a designated workspace. So I would have a study carrel when that child came in because they really needed that minimizing and, you know, that wooden board all the way to the top to help distract that and keep the noise level too. Accommodations for visual tracking. So again, some students benefit, even though we're all about technology. I don't know about you guys, but I actually still like printing things, being able to highlight, you know, write notes across and maneuver. So not everybody is made for just staring at the screen, obviously, as I can show you with my glasses. And just personal handheld whiteboards, you know, instead of if they're doing it on the board. I used to have my students, when I would do different boards, some students don't do well actually standing up. They may need either a slanted board to write. Again, so trying to find how we're gonna visually track, closer, close point, near point, you know, far point, things like that. And another thing that we use a lot for our students, which also will help with some of the sensory and just in general how they're doing their seating, is table height, raised or lowered, alternative chairs, right? So flexible seating, you know, stool, balance ball, texture seat covers. We used to have the little, you know, cushions that we put that were textured. So again, trying to get different things, sitting at the front or the back in the classroom when we're back in brick and mortar. But even again, the location in your house, if you're, you know, doing e-learning, it's the same concept. And just like I mentioned before, sitting in a low traffic area, that might really impact your child overall. So just to kind of bring you back, I did want to share this resource. I wasn't going to go into it because, you know, time restraints and it has a lot of good information, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to share with you guys since I came across it. It has videos, it has links, it really goes into details from the different categories of accommodations. And now I'm going to hand it over to Alicia.
My turn. So my piece is to share some ideas of how to manage behavior at home during this e-learning. And I think too, as we plan the transition back to face-to-face learning. So I really wanted to start with this quote that says, what we sometimes see as a failure to behave properly is actually a failure to communicate properly. And I think as parents, sometimes we expect our kids to behave because we said so. And sometimes as teachers hope that too. But the reality is our kids are telling us something. And so it's up to us as being the adult to help figure that out. Okay, next slide. So what we need to be is become little investigators to really find out the why. Why is our child doing the things that they do? Okay, and there are 4 reasons, 4 functions of behavior, as we like to call them. There is sensory, escape, attention, and tangible. So the first one is sensory. So kids might be having certain unexpected behaviors because their brain is processing all of this sensory input and it's not able to process it in a correct way. So it might be too overwhelming or too underwhelming too. So we really have to analyze, is it a sensory reason? And the way we figure this out too is through trial and error. Okay, so that's not a perfect science. You just have to keep trying things and say, nope, it's not that, or yep, that worked. The next one is escape. So I think all of us have some escape behavior sometimes here and there, depending on what the context is or activity. And so that's pretty obvious that kids have behaviors because they don't want to do what it is they need to do. And so they escape, they leave the area or what have you. And oftentimes, especially as it relates to, you know, e-learning or things like that, it could be because it's too easy, could be because it's too hard, could be because it's boring. And so what we need to do is figure, is it for escape? Is that the reason? And if so, what can we do to motivate the child to not escape? Okay, and building tolerance around that. The next one is attention. And so that can be from, you know, a particular person. It could be for, you know, a group of people. It could just be because they want people's eyes on them or, you know, what have you. So really evaluating, you know, who do they want it from, and then finding the plan of attack for that to prepare. And then the last one is tangible. So they want something. They want their iPad, they want food, they want to play their video game, whatever it might be, okay? So those are the 4 reasons of why, all right? And it's super important to know the why, because once you know the why, then you can either change the environment at home or at school so that that behavior no longer is needed. Or you can teach replacement skills so they have a better way of telling you. So for example, as a mom, you're on the phone, you know, working from home, and then your kid comes next to you and falls to the floor screaming and kicking and what have you. All he was trying to do is tell you that he wanted your attention, but he forgot the words, he couldn't think of what to say, and so there you have the meltdown. But if you maybe then have a little visual that says, Mom, I need you, and he could just come and hand you the visual, no need for the meltdown anymore because you've given him that replacement skill. Or you reinforce appropriate behavior. And I think as humans and as adults especially, we're very quick to tell our kids or people when they're doing the wrong thing. But we're not as quick to tell them, oh, wow, you really did what I wanted you to do today, thanks. We don't do that, right? So I always try to tell the staff that I work with and myself with my own children, I really try to accentuate the positive. I really highlight when they are doing what I thought I wanted them to do in the first place. So really say, you know, wow, I love how you're coloring in your notebook or whatever it is they're doing. But when they're doing the wrong thing, very little words, you know, just be very matter of fact. So we want to do those consequence strategies and praise and reinforce and reward because, you know, our kids need a little payment for things that are hard and boring for them too, just like we get it from work as well, our paycheck. Next slide, Natalia. Okay, so now what I wanted to do is specifically look at the behavior of meltdowns or maybe tantrums, because I don't know about in your house, but in my house, I have 3 children. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and a preschooler. You can all pray for me later. And so, you know, behavior happens. And especially when we've been home for 6 months, people's emotions are up and down. People's anxiety is out of control right now with all of these changes and unknowns. And so that is even more so when you start to see more of these meltdowns and tantrums and whatnot. And so I just wanted to go through 2 different ways of going through the functions of the behavior for the same behavior of meltdown, okay? So the first example is you bring your child to Publix. Every time you arrive at Publix, he has a huge meltdown. So now I want you to think of, okay, it's the behavior is meltdown, and there's a little guy having a little meltdown there, screaming his face off at us. But let's now look at and think maybe it's for sensory, okay? When you enter Publix, you have all those, the sights that are very stimulating, the lights, all the food everywhere. Then you have the smells. You have the seafood department, the bakery department, the deli, everything, okay? Maybe it's those doors opening and shutting. Maybe it's the aisles that your kids are like, oh, I just need to run down those aisles or what have you. So you start to identify what are all the things that could be affecting my child. Once you've identified those, then you think of ways to problem solve those. Okay, so if it's the lights, maybe he could wear some cool sunglasses, and you give him a choice of which sunglasses is he going to wear. Maybe it's the sound, so maybe you're going to give him headphones or music to put in. Okay. Also with if it's vision and stuff, you could maybe give him a little phone or iPad or something to use, so he's looking down and not up and looking at all of the stuff going on, getting all that input. So what you do is you trial and error. You see, did those sunglasses help? Did the headphones help? If they don't, then maybe it wasn't a sensory reason. Okay, so then you go to the next thing. All right. Also with sensory, the idea with behavior is you don't just accept, oh, well, he won't go to Publix, so we're never going to Publix again. That's not going to help him in the end. That's not going to help him in the long run. So what you want to do then, if it's sensory, is you want to desensitize him to the sensory input, okay? So you prepare and you plan. And so you're not going to plan your hour-long shopping trip to Publix when your child is going to be melting down. You plan, all we're going to do is get to the front door, hooray, you did it, and leave. The next time, he needs to step inside, and you tell him this so he knows what to expect. Maybe use visuals, maybe use a social story, so there is nothing unexpected for him, okay? And then you slowly build that endurance when it comes to sensory. Then I want you to think of that meltdown for tangible. He wants something. He wants the Doritos on aisle 12. So you know this. You're prepared. You're going to plan in advance, all right? So you're going to set him up for success. You're going to make a social story of why do we go to Publix? These are the items that I need. Maybe you have like a whole list, a shopping list, where he can check it off as you find the items. You give him something to do, okay? So it's purposeful for him. It's not just a waste of time for him and he's just bored. So you're going to give him a reason to be there, all right? You're going to have visuals to remind him of what he needs to do. He needs to stay by mom. Maybe he's going to help push the cart. Maybe he's going to help get the item from the counter thing and put it into the cart, all right? And as he's doing these expected behaviors, you're going to say, yes, I love how you're staying next to me. Yes, I love how you just got the bread and put it in the basket. And these are life skills that you're teaching him, right? Because he's going to need to know how to go to Publix later, all right? Then you're going to say, oh my gosh, we had 2 aisles left. 2 aisles left, and you're going to get your Doritos. So you're reminding him, when is it that he's going to get those Doritos, all right? Maybe you even have a little mini schedule telling him what's going to happen. First, we're going to go to the deli, then we're going to go to the bakery, then we're going to go to the meat department, or what have you. Or maybe the numbers on the aisles, he could check them off, okay? Many of our kids love the numbers. Incorporate that. So as soon as he gets through what you wanted him to do, he gets those Doritos immediately because he's done everything that you expected him to do. Now he gets the Doritos, all right? If you don't give him the Doritos, guess what? He's gonna have a meltdown because he did everything you asked and it didn't work anyway, so he's gonna melt down. And the next time that meltdown is gonna be even bigger and stronger and louder, all right? And then at home, you're gonna review the social story again. And you're gonna say, did you do all of these things in the social story? And he's gonna say, yes. And you're gonna say, awesome. We're gonna do it again next week, all right? And you keep praising him. And it's like a contract. Like if you do your part and he does his part, life is good, all right? The next reason, for attention, okay? When you're at Publix, you're talking to the meat guy, you're getting your deli meat, you're looking at the aisles, and you're not focused on your child when you're Publix shopping, okay? So maybe it's that he wants your attention. So again, social story. Again, visuals of what you want him to do. And this time in that social story, you're gonna explain why you can't be focused on your child, why you need to be talking to these other people, okay? And then on his schedule, whether it's a written schedule, whether it's visuals or photos, you are going to have what the morning is like, and then you go to Publix, and then right after is that visual of time with mommy, or time to play a game, or whoever it is that he wants attention with, okay? And so, again, you must follow through. The second you are done putting those groceries away, and maybe he helps you put those groceries away, it's time to provide that attention for him, okay? So the important part is that as the adults and as the parents, that we are doing our end of the deal so that they trust that what we say is true, okay? So for us parents that threaten, like, you weren't behaving, so we're not gonna go to Disney World on the weekend, but you've already bought those tickets, the child knows that you're going to Disney, whether he's good or bad, right? So the same thing, okay? Don't make empty threats and follow through on what you say you're gonna do. And then the last one is escape. So oftentimes with escape though, there can be a sensory component too, especially at a place like Publix. So they wanna get out of there because of the sensory, all right? So again, you're gonna do the social store, you're gonna tell him how long it will take, okay? And then maybe you're gonna use a timer and he has control of that timer. He gets to push start and then he can watch that time go. Also giving him some control while he's there. So, okay, what items would you like? So the idea is engaging him into the shopping experience so that he's not wanting to just leave, okay? Yeah, and so those are the 4 reasons. So again, if he wanted, if the function of his behavior for the meltdown of Publix was sensory, but you thought it was chips, and so you gave in and gave him chips, that he's still going to melt down because you didn't deal with the reason that the sensory input was too much for him, okay? So that's why it's super important to understand the why. Next, Natalia. All right, so now we're going to look at the same behavior of meltdowns, but now during e-learning, okay? So now let's look at sensory. What could it be that is difficult for your child to process sensory-wise, all right? So again, you're gonna think of what it is on this screen that could be a problem, okay? Is it the light from the screen? And that's why all of us adults are using these black light glasses, okay? It could be that. It could be all the voices, and there's moms and teachers and kids and so many people on the screen making different noises. That could be too much for your child. Is it that there's so many faces staring back at him that that's, you know, intimidating, okay? And remember, some of our kids have difficulty with eye contact and looking people in the face and stuff, so that could be a big part of it. So once you've identified the why of the sensory, then you start coming up with ideas, okay? So maybe it is that you need to purchase some blue light glasses for them, right? Or headphones. Maybe he needs to wear some noise canceling headphones where he could still hear, but it's not as loud. Or maybe you just put down the volume. Maybe something as simple as that would work, all right? But the idea is no kid is gonna say, oh, those glasses are fantastic, let me wear them. No, chances are not. So you would practice wearing the glasses for little parts of the day, just like wearing a pressure vest or things like that. Many kids, initially they don't like it, but as they understand the purpose, just like our accommodations, then they realize, oh, this is good for me. Yeah, I need this, all right? Another one is to wear a pressure vest during this, okay? If they're sitting for too long, they're getting fidgety or what have you, you know, using a pressure vest, or maybe even making one of those rice socks so they can wear it and get some pressure along their shoulders or along their lap can help. Also fidgets. Look at my little Bitmoji with the fidget spinners. I say we need to bring those back for some of our kids because those are really good and they can just sit and play with the fidget spinner, but they're still listening and hearing what's going on. Another one is to use essential oils. There's lots of oils that you can use with your child for arousing. Some of our kids get so sleepy and lazy, and so you need to wake them up. Or if they're too fidgety and too alert and whatnot, too hyper, then to help calm them down too. Also, remember to use your visuals to remind them of their coping strategies. So what do they do when they're frustrated? What do they do when they're bored? What do they do when they're feeling upset? All right. Also, in putting frequent movement breaks. Okay. So maybe right before they're going to have their 30-minute e-learning session, they need to do some jumping jacks. They need to use a ball chair to sit there. They need to do some dancing or movement or what have you. And everybody has their thing. So it's just finding the thing for your child. And the idea too is that we need to work towards desensitizing him towards this sensory input, okay? Start with short times and extend it. Next one. The next one is for tangible, okay? So you're trying to get your child to get on the computer, but he wants a snack. He wants to watch his TV. He wants to play on his iPad, all right? So we need to first and foremost set the expectations, use visuals to do that, create those daily routines. And I had one parent that shared with us, it was a great tip, is she uses her Alexa. And then Alexa says, Johnny, it's time for your work with Miss So-and-so. So it's not even the parent that's telling their child to do their work, it's Alexa. Or Alexa could say, check your schedule, and just like a teacher would. Also using visual schedules or first then boards to help kids. And the idea is to identify when will they be able to get to do what they want, okay? If you just say no, then they're gonna fight you, and that's when you're gonna have the meltdown. But if you say you need to do this and this, and then you're gonna get it, then they're much more likely to participate and comply. Also providing a choice board of possible items, okay? Because the worst thing you can do is that you say, okay, what are you gonna work for? And he says painting, but painting isn't an option. You don't have paint at home. Then you have to tell him no, and then there's another meltdown. So giving him a choice board, if he can read, you can write it out, or using little photographs or whatnot, so that these are your options, make a choice. Also, the very important thing, if the function is for tangible, is you cannot give them access to whatever it is that they want until they comply with what it is that you need them to do, okay? So if it's that they really love to play their iPad, they don't get their iPad in the morning then. They don't get their iPad before it's work time. Because if not, then they're gonna say, I'm gonna get it later. And then you don't have that power over it. All right, another is, of course, my favorite, social stories, to really teach him the expected behaviors of e-learning, and in that you can put what it is he's gonna earn and when he's gonna earn it. And also meet him where he's at. If your child is completely refusing to participate in e-learning, then you're not gonna expect him to sit at the computer for 30 minutes and comply. He's never gonna do it. So you start and you say, listen, I want 2 minutes. 2 minutes you're on the computer, then you get what you want. The next day or week or however long it takes.
I'm still alive. And the reason why I clean the toilet is I always making sure baby Daisy can poop in there, so you know.
So you start with where they're at and you slowly increase time, okay? You want to make sure that they feel that success, they taste that success, and that you mean what you say, and then I'll comply with what our contract is, all right? And then for some kids that really need that quick reinforcement, use a token board. So a token board is a little thing with like 5 spots, maybe 10 spots. And so as they're working, you have the picture of what it is that they want, and you say, oh, I love how you're sitting in front of the computer. Oh, I love how you're listening to the teacher. And so you're slowly reinforcing him towards earning whatever it is that he wants, the iPad or what have you. Next one. So the next one is attention. And so I saw this quote recently and I just love it. Every time you think of calling a kid attention seeking, consider changing it to connection seeking and see how your perspective changes. So oftentimes these attention seekers are really just trying to make a connection. And sometimes it's awkward or not at the right time or what have you, but they're just trying to make a connection, all right? And so when you think of it from that perspective, it makes a world of difference, all right? So when your child is seeking attention, and so maybe there's a meltdown because of that, you really have to identify first, who is it that he's wanting the attention from? Is it from mom or dad that's working in the other room? Is it from the teacher that's on the screen? Is it from the peers that they're just trying to have a social interaction with, all right? So again, having that social story for explaining why he needs to do e-learning, why he needs to do his work, and what is that other person doing while he's doing e-learning. Okay, so sometimes it's just that the kids feel like they're missing out on something, all right, or that something better is going on. But if you explain, no, they're doing their work too, no, mom and dad are doing their work, then it's like, oh, okay, I'm not missing out on anything. The other important thing, if it's that he wants time with the teacher or with other students, then you really need to collaborate with the teacher so that you can work that out somehow, okay? So maybe the child can have a role in the e-learning. Maybe he could see who are the participants for that day. Maybe he could be the greeter. And as people arrive into the team's meeting, he can welcome them. Or at the end of the session, maybe he could tell a joke, something that's maybe previously okayed by the teacher or what have you. But the idea is making him feel a part of that, all right? The other thing we could do is we could schedule time for the social interaction, all right? And so it's not in the middle of the lesson, that's not the appropriate time, but maybe the last 5 minutes, if you have it worked out with the teacher, that they could have some sort of interaction. Also, you want to, for sure, make sure that it's very clear when he's going to get this. So again, put it on a schedule, put it in a social story, whatever, all right? And then make sure that everybody follows through with their part of the deal. Next part, Natalia. And then escape. This one is sometimes one of the most challenging because it's easy for them to get out, right? They fall to the floor, they run away, especially with e-learning. There's a lot of other rooms, a lot of other places to go to at home, all right? So again, really identifying, is it too hard? Is it too easy? Is it that it's boring? You know, why the escape, all right? And if it's boring, we have to teach our kids that things are boring. Life is boring many times, all right? You have to model, like you're doing the dishes. Man, this is boring. I wish I didn't have to do the dishes, but if I don't do the dishes, we won't have clean plates to eat on tomorrow. So helping him to see, right, why. Also using a visual schedule. I can't say it enough. Visual schedule, visual schedule, visual schedule for every child out there, okay? A visual schedule, you can show your child when it is that he will get to do the things that he likes to do. When is my break? When is my lunch? When is my watching TV time, all right? And for kids that really have a lot of escape behavior, you can then try to arrange it so he has a preferred activity, non-preferred, preferred, non-preferred, and it's back and forth so that he sees, okay, after I do this, I get to do something I like. Now it's something I don't like, but now again, I'll get something I like. So really try to alternate that. Or schedule breaks in, okay? And so I differentiate between what's a brain break and what's a reward break, okay? So if you didn't comply with what I wanted, you're not getting a reward break. You're gonna get a brain break, you're gonna get to move around, but now it's back to work, okay? Once you do what I asked you to do, then you get a reward, okay? So really differentiating between the two. So if he didn't comply, he doesn't get to go play his iPad in his break time because he didn't earn it, right? So really differentiating between the two. Also for kids that have escape behaviors, using a timer is amazing. And there's some even free online that it's called a time timer where they can visually see that time escaping because time is pretty abstract and difficult to comprehend sometimes, especially when it's moving very slow. So, and help him to have control over that, all right? You have 15 minutes left, push start. All right, it's gonna be right here waiting for you. When you hear the beep beep, then you get to go to your break. And just not back and forth. You're not gonna get into a power struggle over it. The timer says 15 minutes, that's it. Your visual schedule says it's time for e-learning, that's it, okay? And then for kids, again, if they really have a hard time, you're gonna start with short amount of time that you're expecting them to comply. And a lot of breaks, a lot of rewards. And then you slowly switch to more and more time that they need to do the work, all right? You're building that tolerance for it. Also, for kids that escape and they run away, right? They're gonna make their break whether you like it or not. So I recommend the use of a break card and having it right there available. So if they're gonna fall out and have a meltdown or a tantrum, you want them to ask for a break before they get there, okay? Because by the time they have the whole meltdown and they're in crisis, it's too hard to bring them back. So if they can request a break, guess what? Go right ahead. Thank you for asking nicely. See you in 5. And you want to start teaching that. And you teach the use of that break card when they're calm, when they're happy. You practice it, you model it, so that when they are heightened and frustrated and overwhelmed, they know what to do and how to use it, all right? And then also, again, you really have to think of why. Why? So if the meltdown is because they want candy, but you gave them headphones, that's not gonna help them, all right? So super important to understand the function, all right? And I know it's not easy, and we're human, and especially as parents, I used to call my behavior program specialist when my child had behaviors when he was 3 years old, my first child, and she would laugh at me. But I was like, no, it's your own child, everything goes out the window. But I kept to it, kept practicing. Child number 3, we're good. So keep practicing. Take those mom emotions, those dad emotions, take that away. Sometimes we need to even step away from the situation and us to cool down before we can think clearly and really help our child. And so since we've been in school, or not in school, home, since we've been at homeschool for 6 months, or with summer there too, we really have to be mindful of prompt dependency, okay? And many of our kids are probably prompt dependent at this point because many of us have had to be next to our kids during this e-learning, all right? And so prompt dependency is when someone needs a prompt in order to initiate a skill that they already know how to do, something that's mastered already. And I love this family circus little cartoon that the big sister is telling the baby, when someone gives you something, you wait for them to say, and what do you say? And then you say thank you. And so that is exactly prompt dependency right there. The child knows how to say thank you, but he's gonna wait for somebody to ask. And so unfortunately, our kids really get stuck on this, and that does not help their independence. And so we really have to be mindful of fading those prompts that we're giving our kids, okay? Are we giving them physical prompts, hand over hand, help them to click this, do this? Are we even doing it for them, all right? Are we telling them, oh no, stop, don't do that. Okay, wait, don't do this. Okay, wait for mom to tell you. Cut the verbal, too much. Use those visual and gestural cues as much as possible, all right? And then also, sometimes it's because we're in a rush. We're trying to do a million different things. We're running a whole household. But we have to remember, what is the end goal? We need our kids independent, all right? So we have to wait to give them that processing time. Because remember, some of our kids are scripting the video that they're watching. They're thinking of this, they're thinking of that, they're counting, they're doing whatever they're doing. And so they missed what we even said. So you say it, maybe you say it one more time, and then you wait. And I used to literally count in my head 3 to 5 seconds before I would give the next prompt, all right? And then 2, use those visuals, because when we say something, we say it and then it's gone. Where if there's a visual, then they have it to refer to remember what it is that we were trying to tell them. And so as we're preparing to go back to face-to-face for some of us, or in January when the rest of us go back face-to-face, or whatever it is that time is gonna be, you know, I really want you as parents to be thinking, I need to start fading back, all right? And I know some of our kids have been sitting maybe in booster chairs or high chairs or things where we've given them that physical prompt to help them stay seated. Guess what? At school, we can't do that. So we're not doing our kids any favors if we're giving them all of these prompts, okay? We need to be thinking now. You have a few days for those of you that are starting face-to-face, and for the rest of you that are starting in January, but be planning, be participating. And again, it's building that endurance. You're not expecting them to be independent 100%, but how can they be independent little by little and shape that behavior to where you want it to be? Next. And then, as we're going through all of this crazy time and it feels like the world is coming to an end, I want you to be like my little Bitmoji. We got this. The whole world might be collapsing, but we're cool, calm, and collected. We got this, all right? And even if inside we're like, we cannot let our kids know that, because we want to model that we got this. life throws us all kinds of fireballs. Life is a roller coaster, but we have our coping skills. We know how to get through this, all right? And so this is what we need to practice, what we preach, and we need to show our kids that we have the skills, we have the coping skills, and we're gonna share those secrets with our kids, all right? And one way to do it is to really identify the size of the problem, all right? So is it a really huge problem? Is there fire coming from the sky? No, your pencil just broke. It's a one problem, no big deal. We can get a sharpener, we can fix it. So helping them to identify that is going to be huge. Next one. And then another way to help our kiddos is using coping strategies. And mindfulness is a big one of my big favorites. And so we have a little video that we're going to share with you real quick. Go ahead, Natalia.
Let's hope this works.
Yeah.
The vase of water is our
Can you guys hear it?
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
mind, and the different colors of sand are our thoughts and feelings. What kinds of thoughts do you have when waking up? Pick a color of sand that feels right for your feelings or thoughts. This is how our minds are when we are in a hurry, stressed, angry, or upset. Can you see things clearly in this state? Let's breathe with the bell and observe all the sand as it slowly settles to the bottom of the jar.
I want you all breathing deep right now.
This is what happens to our minds when we meditate, when we are mindful of our body and of our breathing. What is the water like now? The thoughts and feelings can still be there in our minds, but rest peacefully at the bottom because we know how to return to our breathing to calm them.
And so that little video I've been using with my teachers to help them be calm and you know, in the midst of all this chaos. And so but we can also use this video with our kids, and we can create our own little sensory bottles with this. And so just like that, these are, you know, all the thoughts, all of our problems in this bottle are like the thoughts in our brain. And so we need to let them calm, and we do this by breathing and things and whatnot. And this is an important thing for us as adults to be practicing, for our kids to be watching us practice this, for them to do it with us. But the bottle is great because, again, some of this mindfulness stuff is very abstract for some of our kids, but if you make it concrete with the use of an object, then they get it, right? And so when you say, you know what, I think you need to take a break, take your glitter bottle or what have you, and you can make this with them. They can make it whatever color they want, put whatever color glitter or items or things, sequins in there. But then they start associating this with positive thoughts. And maybe as they're making their bottle, you're talking about Disney World, or you're talking about the pool or things like that. So the brain is associating a happy place. And then when they see their bottle, oh, this reminds me of Disney World. And all of that is really, you know, just great, great, great stuff for the brain, so that when it's triggered by something, it calms down. It helps to calm them down, all right? And the idea too for our kids is we need to be proactive with these strategies. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, but it was an adult that had autism, and they said that they just feel on edge all of the time. And when they do these relaxation strategies, then everything just takes that edge off. And so if you're always heightened, then any little thing, yeah, it's going to be a size 5 problem. You're going to be triggered very easily, all right? So what you want to do is you want to find the thing that is for your child. What is going to help him to, you know, just help change his mindset or what have you. So is it yoga? Is it working out? Is it music? Is it art? Whatever it might be, find their thing. And remember that this is a critical life skill. Without this piece, they're not going to be able to be successful in a job or anything else, okay? So we have to practice and use and teach these calming tools. And once you found them, you're going to share them with everybody that's involved with your child, all right? And this is super important and crucial to maintaining that emotional balance, to decrease stress and anxiety. So all of this is for us as adults as well as for our kids. Is it moving?
There we go.
There you go. All right.
All right, so we're combining the same concept. We're combining those accommodations and all the things we talked about and behavior, because if we really start thinking about everything we just talked about, they kind of go hand in hand. So our biggest behavior that we're targeting right now, because it's part of our CDC guidelines and everything, is our facial masks, right? Or wearing those masks. So,
and so if unless it's for a health reason,
yeah,
like the doctor's like, no, they can't wear the mask, then we should be trying. We should be practicing, right? So some reasons why students won't wear masks, sensory could be definitely be a big sensory component. It could be the texture of the mask. It could be this awful thing on your nose and over your mouth, so you feel like you can't breathe. You could feel a little claustrophobic, but also because it's a change and our kids don't do well with change, all right? It's also bothersome. It's uncomfortable. They don't like the look of it, or that it feels invading, okay? But if the reason is because they just won't tolerate it, that's not a reason, okay? It's just like them not entering Publix, right? Eventually they need to enter Publix. So same thing with this mask. If we teach it, they will learn, okay?
So Alicia and I really thought, and I came up with 3 steps. Okay, and we're gonna keep changing our mindset. And I talked about this on my last presentation is, we're gonna say we can do this. So I'm gonna identify 3 steps for you guys, because I don't know about you guys, but I do like checklists and kind of having some order in my life. And step number 1 is selecting the correct mask. Step number 2 is going to be to just become friends with the mask. And step number 3 is gonna be to build endurance. So I have talked about building endurance through e-learning, as far as, you know, navigating to your computer and feeling comfortable, even if it's just like Alicia said, 2 minutes, and then you come back and then we shut it down. And in case, don't worry, in case you missed some of the steps, we are going to give you a lot of ideas. I did put the link so you guys can just refer back to, because we do have more details. Step number 1, go ahead, Alicia.
All right, so the step number 1 for our kids is we have to select the right mask for them, all right? So think of texture, shape, design. Okay, if you know that scratchy textures your child doesn't do, don't select that mask, all right? And maybe you even want to give them options. So within the selection of the mask, even for each particular day, which mask is it going to be today? Paw Patrol or the black mask? Let them choose, right? And also, as you shop now, before it was that you had to buy them online, but now even Target has masks. I'm sure Walmart does too. I just haven't been there lately. With different characters. So really try to get the mask to be more appealing. Maybe it's a plain color, maybe it has a character, and it could be several attempts to find one that fits well for them, or that they can tolerate. All right. And I would recommend to purchase a few different styles. Maybe the paper, maybe cotton, maybe one that has a few, you know, a thin line. I have one that is just cotton. And then the idea, though, too, in step 1 is that you're just getting them to be near the mask. You're not expecting them to wear the mask for a long period of time.
You like belt. Be honest with me.
All right, step 2.
So step number 2 is to become friends with the mask. If a child refuses to get near the mask, we're not saying force the mask on the kid. Absolutely not. We don't want to make it into a negative experience. Instead, we're going to play games with this mask to get the student to feel comfortable with that. And just like Alicia said, we're always going to reward to encourage the continuance of this mask-related behavior. So even if it's just becoming friends with the mask, that's okay. So here's some of the ideas to start making that mask more appealing and having fun with the mask. Online resources, there's a ton. I know Sesame Street just came out with some. There's endless of YouTube videos and songs and little clips that you can use. So that's one way that's enticing to your child. Masking toys, just like the picture shows us. You can definitely use, playing around with the toys. Maybe they're not putting it on, but they can put it on all their toys. Or if they refuse to touch it, then maybe they could have a sibling doing, a cousin doing, maybe you're showing them, oh, look, your toys, you know, and you want to use something that is very preferred. So stick to, like, if, you know, they love Peppa Pig, then use it on Peppa Pig. If they love Paw Patrol, then you're going to use Paw Patrol, whatever it is, their favorite character or toy they may have. It doesn't even have to be an actual like figure or like a noun. It could be, you know, just like a truck, you know, put it on the front of the truck. I mean, whatever it is that is enticing to your child. I did do this with my daughter, called Photo on a Stick. And basically you take a picture of your child face forward, you know, because they're just going to take a picture if you have one from before. And I actually printed a couple, and I don't know if you guys can see it because I can't see what I'm showing you guys, but I printed a whole bunch of little masks. And we're going to practice. Again, if they don't want to do it, that's fine, but this is laminated. So this material is most likely that they have used within their classrooms when they were in brick and mortar. So again, practice putting it on, you know, and if it's just not one style, I actually printed a couple different designs. My daughter was thrilled that she was going to be the model for this. She actually kept practicing and, you know, showing them that wearing a mask is unfortunately our new normal, you know, and that way you're going to use that different designs. You know, they get to pick which one it is. You're giving them choices. You're making it a game, and it's them. So I wanted to personalize it to make sure that it is the child, and you can do this, you know, try to do this every day, you know, do that multiple times so they start getting familiar with maybe that's them, which kind of brings us into the next activity, which is mirror and selfies. Trying it on in a mirror so they can see themselves backwards, or maybe you're the one doing it. And hey, look how I put my mask on. Snapchat is great. They do have many options, just like the picture in our slide, that you can put filters. So you're not technically putting it on, but they're starting to see how they look with that mask on. A scavenger hunt, exploring across everywhere, you know, looking for those scavenger hunts. Have them, you know, hunt when you go to Publix. Hopefully they're not having that meltdown that Alicia talked about. But when, you know, you're in there, let's find how many people we can see with masks. How many red masks do we see? Counting, I mean, you can bring so many different things with that scavenger hunt, but your target is that mask. So you're starting to show them that these masks are, you know, everywhere now. And one of the reasons why we're trying to make them become friends with these masks is because, let's be honest, we used to see mask wear in hospitals, right? Or when we went to the doctor, or when they got pinched, you know, so they may have some negative past experience that really makes this really uncomfortable if it's not that sensory and those other issues they were finding before that we discussed. A social story, just like Alicia said, use those visuals, those social stories to kind of tell them that it's okay, that, you know, that we could wear them, you know, not to be scared, that they could wear it in different places. And the next one, which is a little off, I call it the it's okay. It's okay that these masks are everywhere. I know it sounds crazy, but bear with my craziness for a moment. I would place masks anywhere in my house, different kinds, just like Alicia said, you know, you'll have a couple. So they start seeing it everywhere. So it just becomes an additional part or an additional object within everywhere we look. And it's not different anymore. So you're going to kind of make it part of our routines and everywhere we go. So they start seeing it, so it becomes so familiar. We have to desensitize our children to these masks for many reasons. And, you know, if they don't, you know, they don't want to wear it, I'm going to give you the last one, which is they could just touch it. And what I mean by that is maybe the kid is just, and I did this with my students, and I used to work with my families. You know, there's many times in life we have trouble with certain things, but we have to go through the desensitizing process of it. So I used to have a student who really struggled with those little stuffed animals that sing and dance, which I absolutely love. So I had one for every theme every month, you know, one for Halloween, one for Thanksgiving, all the different holidays. And he wouldn't get near, he was terrified of them. So we started very slowly. I would have it always on my front desk, and I would be very, very far away from him. I would get it closer, and then we started putting it closer and closer. Then he would touch it with one finger, and then we had to put it away, you know, and I was like, oh my God. And I would just reward and throw parties. I looked a little crazy because I was very animated and, you know, clownish. But hey, I wanted to show him I was super excited that he did that, even if it was just one finger. And then we started going with, like, he was able to pet that little stuffed animal. It's the same concept with the mask. So we're going to start kind of building ourselves, and, you know, we might have to do it very slowly so we can build that comfort level. So depending on the child you're working with, you're not going to force that mask on, but you're just going to find that baseline level of where your child is at and kind of start going from there, doing those little steps. So that's why step number 2 is very important. If they're refusing to get near the mask, you're just going to teach them to become friends with that mask. Step number 3.
All right, step number 3. And as you can see, I'm wearing my mask. And so if your child's teacher is not wearing their mask, maybe you could ask them, hey, could you start wearing your mask every now and then so that my child can get used to seeing you wearing something foreign, because this definitely looks strange. All right. And again, it doesn't have to be for the whole time, but just so that they can start being familiar. We don't like the unknown. We don't like the foreign. So helping them through that is, and starting now, is going to really help our kids. So step 3 now is all about building endurance of the mask. So your child is now able to touch the mask, be near the mask. Maybe he's picked out a couple that he can tolerate. And now we want to get it to the next level where they'll wear the mask. Okay. So the first game that you could play is called Beat the Timer. And so you're not going to start with the mask yet, but you're going to start with different things. Okay. So maybe you're going to have them wear a hat. Okay, let's set the timer 1 minute. Let's see if we can wear a hat for 1 minute. Then maybe you put on gloves. Then maybe you put on a sticker on your nose or on your cheek. All right. And slowly you're going to try different funny, silly things. And then, okay, now let's see if we can wear a mask for 1 minute. And you put it on. Okay. So it's kind of using that like behavior momentum that you're able to do different things. And then now getting them to do what you want them to do, which is wear the mask. Another activity is to schedule mask time. And I used to do this with my 4-year-old. He was 3 years old at the time when we started wearing masks. And he loved to go to Target to buy a monster truck. That was his big thing. And I was like, great, well, you have to wear a mask if we're gonna go to Target. And he was like, no, I don't wanna wear a mask. I was like, oh, no Target. So little by little, I got him to wear that mask because the power of getting that monster truck was stronger than the power of not wearing the mask. Now he wears his mask for anything as long as I need him to, and no problem. And so the next game is a masked game. So the same type of thing of going to Target, but you could play a game that they choose, right? And then another one that Rhonda Bachman came up with too, again, shaping that behavior. That if your child will not wear a mask over the whole thing, then maybe you get one of those paper masks. And so you make just a tiny little rectangle that fits over the nose and the mouth. And then the next time you cut it a little bit bigger. And the next one a little bit bigger until it's all the way, okay? So again, shaping that behavior to where we want it.
Because I didn't include it in, but even like just hanging the loop of the mask on one ear and just maybe hanging it over, and they could just practice for 1 second, putting it across their face, but not hooking it on the other ear. Again, just trying to practice having that concept, you know, that fabric, that, you know, paper, whatever it is kind that you're using, right over their mouth, you know, and eventually building it so they hook both up. Again, you have to think in short steps and trying to understand that baseline. But when you're to get there is, again, like Alicia said, just building that endurance.
And also teaching the child to hook it themselves. So if mom or dad is always doing it for them, that's not going to work at school when they need to be independent, and you want them to keep that physical distance. So again, the independence, the practicing of it, do it now.
Use visuals. That would be a great one. So we can do this, you know. You may not always be, and I just want to use that picture, which step you reach today. You may be at the bottom where you're thinking, I won't do it, I can't do it, I want to do it, but how do I do it? I'll try to do it, I can do it, and I will do it, and then you'll get to the yes, I did it. So we can do this together. You know, we can use those above activities consistently to help our children improve and increase their ability to wear those masks. You can use these same activities to teach children other important skills, you know, is feeding, tactile responsiveness, or non-preferred tasks. Just like we teach everything else, this is no different. We are just teaching a new concept. There will be many obstacles that can be challenging for your child, whether it's because of the disability or, you know, they're just having a hard time with change or whatever it, you know, it may be. But my quote always says is, when there's a will, there is a way. So we can do this. So we have to just change that positive mindset so we can help our children and, you know, students master anything we put our minds to. And I'm, like I said, I was a teacher and I was in the classroom for 10 years and I was a coach. And I think anybody could do anything they put their mind to. We may have to do a lot of tricks. I'm not going to take that away from us, but we can do it. So this, pandemic created this new normal, and it has thrown us in a major loop of unknowns. But we're gonna figure this out, and we're gonna be just like the picture Alicia showed us, where there's like all these fireballs coming at us, but we're gonna be keeping ourselves cool, calm, and collected, right? So I want you to think of this, again, changing your mindset. I don't want you to give up. Don't ever give up, okay? So I'm gonna ask you to ask yourself these questions. Did we give up when a student had to be potty trained? I don't think so. We kept going, right? Did we give up when a student was starting to walk and we said, oh, well, they can't walk. We're just, go back to crawling or, sitting idle. No, we kept going. We kept persisting, right? Doesn't matter how long it took, we kept going. When your student was struggling with language, did we give up? No, we went to therapies. We got devices. We used choice boards, vocabulary boards. I mean, we kept going. So every time your child has a new concept, and they have never learned, right, when they transition from grade or they're just learning a new skill, do we give up? No, we keep looking for ways to get them there. So I want you guys to change that mindset. I don't want you to give up. Again, we're not saying if you need a doctor, if it's a medical reason where the child just cannot, not to do that. But we are thinking that if we change our mindset, we can maybe get them there. We can very slowly meet them at where they're at. Build that baseline level to see where, what they could resist. And you may still need accommodations, right? And mold some, shape some behaviors and do some of those things that Alicia talked about. But we're going to teach them that it's okay to wear those masks. So Alicia and I wanted to share some things with you. In lieu of everything that we're giving you, we do wanted to share with you guys some social stories, because we did talk a lot about those, and visuals, because they're so useful. So we do have COVID visual supports. We do have social story about wearing masks in general, both in English and Spanish, because we did want to help our Spanish speaking families. And Alicia, if you want to touch a little bit on your social story as well.
Then I also created one to help our kids prepare for school is going to be very different, all right? All these people are going to be looking different. Things like the playground or cafeteria, they may not be using that how they used to. And so really just helping our kids be prepared and be ready for what is to come, because what they are going to expect is going to be very different.
So hopefully this is going to be useful to you guys. I mean, we're going to ship it to Jen so she can do the distributing process for us.
I can do that.
And we just want to thank you so much for your time and attention. We do appreciate it. I know there's so much going on. So we do appreciate you being here and just listening to us go on for quite a while. And then we're going to wrap it up so you guys can go into the next thing. Alicia, I don't know if you want to say anything else.
Nope, we just want to thank you for being awesome parents, and we appreciate all that you do. We know this is not easy, and we love your kids, and we're so happy to be here to help you and supporting them in their journey.
And I just want to take a minute to thank both Alicia and Natalia for coming and presenting to the group. I know they've got a lot on their plate, and it's obvious from the presentation that it required some effort to put it together, and I'm sure many days or afternoons of back and forth planning. So I really do appreciate you guys coming and presenting to the group.
No, I'm
sorry. I'll try to answer some of the comments in the chat. I wasn't able to see anything, so I'll try to get back to anybody who referenced us.
No, super thankful, guys. That was an absolutely wonderful presentation. I mean, I've heard a whole lot about, okay, guys, yeah, your kids can wear masks, but there hasn't been a whole lot of practical application of how do you get them to do it. So that was really awesome. So thank you. I mean, I know how I've gotten my kiddo to do it, but that was actually some really good practical application of how you can get your kids to do it. So thank you. That was, yeah, I mean, that was really useful information. I mean, the rest of it was great too, but that was like the first time I've ever seen someone actually put that down. So that, thank you. That was very useful and incredibly unique. So wonderful. You guys are fantastic as always. I appreciate you taking time out of an incredibly chaotic day and staying up late to be here with us. If for any reason some of the questions don't get answered, I will make sure to get them forwarded to you so that we make sure everything does get answered. And guys, if for any reason you don't get something answered public wise, you are always can hop on our website. Let me just show you really quick on here. I'm going to show you, let me find our website for you. Okay, do I not have it up here? Let me look. Here we go. You should be able to see this here. Here's our website. Are you guys seeing this?
No.
Okay, let me see if I can. Sorry, my husband's gaming in the background if you happen to hear him yelling, so I apologize. Okay, well, anyways, if you go to acebroward.org, you will find our website. It's a very easy website to find, simple one. You'll find just about everything you ever wanted to know. If you scroll down that website, it will have areas where you can submit information. If you are having challenges with your student, if you are having challenges with your school, you can click right on there. Up pops a Google form where you can submit your information. You can click on there and you don't even have to call, you don't have to talk to anybody, throw your info down there and it pops an email straight to me so that I can hop on that and get it to the right people right away. You can hop on our mailing list so you get all sorts of wonderful information every month. It's got our email, it's got our phone number, it's got everything you could ever want to know. So just letting you know, our website has all sorts of incredibly useful information if you ever need to hop on there. Also, things like the presentation from tonight. You want to get information, you want to get this whole presentation will be on there from tonight. Like the person from tonight who didn't like Facebook, the presentation from tonight will be on there. So don't worry about it. Hop on our website, you'll find it. So long story short, that'll be there. Also, one more quick thing of housekeeping, and then we will be almost done for tonight. With everything going on with COVID, we are elections are pretty much impossible right now. They're just a royal pain in the patootie. I know that I've talked to the rest of the board when we had our board meeting, and everyone's really okay with staying in place if that's okay with you guys for right now, unless anyone has any major objections with it. Everyone's really okay with going with where we're going. If anyone would like to attend our board meetings and help out with stuff, you are more than welcome to. In fact, we love having fresh ideas and fresh opinions, so please feel free to hop on to any of our board meetings. You're more than welcome. And on that note, I know we have Diane here as well. If you'd like to hop on and say hi, we'd love to hear from you.
Everyone. For those of you who don't know, I'm Diane Egan. I'm the Director of Pre-K Elementary, ESLS, and thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to Jen for putting together such a great meeting. Thank you to Alicia and Natalia. I love the presentation. I'm going to become better friends with my mask and try to desensitize myself because I'm not that good at wearing it either. I do wear it all the time if I step outside my house, but I certainly can work on building up that tolerance because it's new to me, just like it's new to our kids. You gave some amazing ideas of how to make that practical and doable. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. It was a great presentation from 211 as well, and what great resources and ideas. Thanks to Gary for being here tonight. And I think we have Dana on here as well. Thanks to all the district staff for supporting ACE Broward. We know how important it is to be able to reach out to our families and our community. And thanks, Jen. It's a great meeting. If you need anything from me, let me know. I'm here.
Diane, you are amazing. I can't believe you've been bouncing all over the place tonight. So thank you. Get some rest tonight if you can. I humbly bow before our amazing district staff. You guys, if you don't know how crazy they are having to run all over the place right now, they are amazing, and I can't say enough great things about them right now. I mean, I know that we don't always agree on 100% of things, and y'all know when I don't hesitate from letting you know when we don't. But when it comes to right now, I think we all just need to stick together and get through this. I mean, because this is going to be an incredibly interesting next couple of weeks. So let's all just stick together and get through this. So y'all don't hesitate to reach out if you need us. We parents are sticking behind you. So we're here for you guys if you need us.
And, you know, we all have the same goal. We want our students to be successful, and we know that they're dealing with insurmountable challenges that we've never dealt with before. And we are certainly learning how to work through it. We are learning to roll with the changes that are happening so frequently. And, you know, hats off to the amazing staff who's really been trying to reach out and support schools and teachers and all of our school staff. And they're certainly always here with ways to solve problems. And that, you know, I just really appreciate their insight. And thanks, parents. That relationship of working collaboratively with you really matters. We know that everybody's contribution into helping our kids be successful is the most important work we can do. So thanks again so much. Back to Jen. I know it's been a long night, so thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, everybody. You guys are all so wonderful. Thank you, all of our wonderful presenters. Thank you, our district staff. Thank you, our parents, for showing up and staying so late on a night where I think we're all just tired. We've been there. We're worn out. We're going to get through this, guys. Don't hesitate to reach out and lean on each other. Don't hesitate to say, I'm not okay. It's been tough, guys. So if you're not okay, reach out to each other, reach out to us, reach out to anyone you need to. It's really okay to say, I'm not okay. Because there's been a few times during this whole thing, I've had to say, I'm not okay. So if you're not, it's all right to say, I'm not okay. So on that note, I love all of you. Let's all go get some rest, and we'll check back in with y'all later. And I'll see you next month. You know where to find us. Take care. Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you are all so welcome.
I'm trying to hang myself up, Jen. There it is. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.